Hello friends, in this lecture we will discuss zeros of analytic functions. We know that what is meant by zero of a function. Zero of a function. Any function f of z has a zero at z equal to a if f of a equal to 0. The, the value of z for which f of z is 0 is called zero of that function. Now we know analytic function, that is, it is differentiable at a point and in the neighborhood of that point also. That function is called analytic. If the function is analytic in all complex plane, it is called entire function. Okay. Now zeros of analytic function. So we want to obtain what is meant by the we know that what is meant by zero of a function. Zero of a function means the point at which the value of f is 0. It is called zero of a function. So there are some results related with the zero of the function. We have first proposition: a function f analytic at a has a zero of order m at a if and only if f of z equal to z minus a to the power m into g of z, where g is analytic at a and g at a is not equal to 0. So if any function is written in this form, z minus a to the power m into g of z, where g of a not equal to 0, that is, if I put z equal to a here, this will never 0. So means what? The power of z minus a, if I put z equal to a here, you will get 0 here. F of a becomes 0. Now here f of a becomes 0, so a is called zero of analytic function. But if this is of this type, z minus a to the power m times repeated, and g of z is analytic as well as g at a is not equal to 0, then we say that fz has a 0 of order m at z equal to a, of order m at z equal to a. So if your function is written in this way, then it should be a 0 of order m. A 0 of order m means what? The 0 is repeated m times there, isn't it? 0 is repeated m times there. Okay, that is the order of 0. Suppose f is analytic and fz is not identically 0 in an open set D, and f vanish at some point a belongs to D. What we are saying here, we are taking f is analytic, it is not identically equal to 0 on an open set D. Suppose this is already is a any open set, no doubt it is circular thing, open set D, right? Suppose f is analytic, fz is not identically equal to in D means what? Fz is not identically equal to at each point in this set. When we say that it is identically 0 in open set D, if f of z is 0 at every point in this open set, so it should not be there, and f vanishes at some point a in D. Suppose there is one point a belongs to D at which f of a is 0, at which f of z is 0, or that is f of a is 0 where a lies in D. So we are taking a 0 of f and the 0 lies in open disk D. We know that we have, if a function is analytic, then it has a power series expansion as well as Taylor series expansion, a1 z minus a plus a2 z minus a square plus up to plus so on, that is summation. Okay, summation, we know that m equal to 0 to infinity am z minus, or 1 to infinity am z minus a to the power m. It is Taylor series expansion, where z is the set of all those points such that mod z minus a strictly less than r, which is contained in D. We have taken one circle. And this is your r, right? Since f of z, set up all these points z. Since f of z not identically equal to 0, not all the coefficients ak vanish. Since f of z is not equal to 0, so a1, a2 up to etc. If all these coefficients 0, that means fz is identically 0 in this region. So fz is not identically 0 means there are some constants from this a1, a2 up to so on which are not equal to 0, which are not equal to 0. So ak can vanish. Therefore, there is a positive integer m greater than or equal to m1 such that a1 up to am minus 1 equal to 0, but am is not equal to 0. At least one, there should be one am which is not equal to 0. That means there are a1 up to am are 0, but one thing is there, am not equal to 0. That means what? Suppose a2 equal to 0, a2 not equal to 0 and a1 equal to 0. Right? It is like this. Suppose a1, a2 equal to 0 and a3 not equal to 0. So for any point am having a1 up to am minus 1 0, but am is not equal to 0 since all ak's are not 0. Then we say that f has a 0 of order m at a. What this means? This implies f has a 0 finite order of m at a. Also the integer m is referred to as the multiplicity of the 0 of f at a. It is the definition of 0 of f at a. Zeros of order 1 are called simple zeros. In case f has a 0 of order m at a, we may write fz as fz equal to amz minus a to the power m plus am plus 1 z minus a to the power am plus 1 and up to so on. So if I take z minus a to the power common, z minus a to the power m common, you will get am plus 1 z minus a plus up to plus so on. So if I take gz as that one, you can write it as fz is equal to z minus a to the power m into g of z. Okay, which is analytic at a and g at a, which is am and which is not equal to 0. G at a, which is am, which is not equal to 0. So what we shown here, a function f is analytic at a and it has a 0 of order m at a if and only if this condition is satisfied. If and only if this condition is satisfied. Okay, that is the case there. So 0 of order a means what? Fz can be written. F of z has a 0 of order m means what? That can be written in this way. Fz equal to am z minus a to the power m plus am plus 1 z minus. This is the definition of f of z has a 0 of order m. F of z has a 0 of order m, and that can be written in this way. Okay, that is it. The radius of convergence of am plus 1 z minus a is exactly same as that of this one. The radius of convergence of this one and this one, both are same. A 0 of an analytic function f is said to be isolated if it has a neighborhood in which there is no other 0 of f. Isolate means what? It is a singleton. Isolate means it is outside. So when we say that a 0 is isolated 0 if at this point function is 0, but in the neighborhood of a function is not 0. Function is not 0. So there is no other 0 of f in the neighborhood of a, then a is called isolated 0 of f. Every 0, next result is every 0 of an analytic function is isolated. So whatever zeros are there, all the zeros of analytic functions are isolated. That means there is at least one neighborhood of every 0 of the function in which the function is not equal to 0. Suppose that there is an analytic function f not identically equal to 0 has a 0 of order m at a. Then there exists an r greater than 0 such that f of z is equal to z minus a to the power m g of z by above proposition for mod z minus a less than r, where g is analytic at a and g at a not equal to 0. Now let mod of g at a equal to something 2 epsilon, which is greater than 0, it means very smaller. Mod of g at a not equal to 0 means what? We have considered it is equal to 2 epsilon, which is strictly greater than 0. Then for this epsilon, Since G is continuous at A, there exists. G is analytic means what? Differentiable. Differentiable means continuous. Since G is continuous at A, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that mod of Gz minus Ga less than epsilon whenever mod Z minus A less than delta. This is the definition of continuity. Therefore, when mod G minus A less than delta, we have mod Gz can be written as mod Ga minus Gz. So it is just arrangement. G of Z, G of A minus G of A plus G of Z. These two cancel, so we get G of Z. Now we have used tangle inequality, this inequality, mod A minus B is greater than or equal to mod of mod A minus mod B. And one more inequality is there, triangle inequality, mod A plus B less than or equal to mod A plus mod B. No doubt, mod A minus B also less than or equal to mod A plus mod B. No problem. All these inequalities are there. But mod A minus B is great. We have used this one, mod of mod A minus mod B. Mod of mod A minus mod B. It is like that. Okay. Greater than or equal to mod A minus mod B. So this is strictly greater than. What is mod of G of A? Is greater than 2 epsilon. So greater than 2 epsilon. Now G of Z minus G of A less than epsilon. That means minus G of Z minus G of A greater than minus epsilon. So greater than sign is there, minus epsilon. 2 epsilon minus epsilon, epsilon. So what we are saying, mod Gz is greater than epsilon. That means again Gz is not equal to 0 in a disk having center at A and radius delta. Having center at A and radius delta. But so G of Z is not equal to 0 in the disk having center A and radius delta. Hence Fz, which is equal to Gz into Z minus A to the power m, is not equal to 0 in the neighborhood except at A. So as Z minus A to the power m is not equal to 0 and G at A also not equal to 0. So what we can say that, therefore Fz, which is given by Gz into Z minus A to the power m, this is not equal to 0 in disk. And we have seen that Gz is not equal to 0 at A. That is in the neighborhood of A also it is not equal to 0. So this whole term is not equal to 0 in the neighborhood except at A. Except at A. And hence proved. So that every 0 is isolated. Every 0 is isolated. Then we have next result. Identity or uniqueness theorem. Suppose that F is analytic in a domain D. If S, which is the set of all zeros of F in D, has a limit point Z star in D, then F of Z is identically 0 in D. Just in previous result, we have proved that the 0 of a function, zeros of all the zeros are isolated. All the zeros are isolated. Okay. Now, what this result says, F is analytic in domain D. If S is the set of all zeros of F in D, and it has a limit point Z star in D, suppose Z1, Z2, up to so on, Zn are the zeros of F. That means F of Z1 equal to 0, F of Z2 equal to 0, up to so on F of Zn equal to 0. These are the zeros of, we consider S as the set and limit as n tends to infinity, Zn equal to something Z star, which is again in D, in that domain D. Then we have to show that F of Z is identically 0 in D. In that case, F of Z is 0 at every point in D. 0 at every point in D. Okay, 0 at every point in D. Not only at these points, it should be identically 0. It should be identically 0. Now, let Zn be the sequence of zeros of F in D such that Zn tends to Z star as n tends to infinity, where Z star is also a point in D. That is the case. Now, what we have to show that Fz is identically 0 in D. Since Zn approaches to Z star, F of Zn equal to 0 for all values of n. As Zn are zeros, F of Z1 is 0, F of Z2 is 0, F of Zn is 0. That means F of Zn is 0 for all n. and f is continuous at z star. Therefore, continuous why? Because it is analytic. Analytic in domain D. Z star is a point in D. Therefore, as analytic in domain D, it should be differentiable at every point in D. As Z star in D, therefore f is differentiable at Z star also. That means f is continuous at Z star also. So as it is continuous at Z star, therefore limit as n tends to infinity f of Zn, which is equal to f of Z star, because limit of Zn is, we know that limit as n tends to infinity f of Zn is same as f of limit as n tends to infinity of Zn. This already we have seen result. And so this is equal to f of Z star and this is equal to 0. Okay, limit point means what? Continuous. Therefore, f of Z star, right? F of Zn is 0 for all values of n. So f of Zn what? So f of Z star equal to limit as n tends to infinity of Zn equal to this limit outside f of Zn, but f of Zn is 0 for all n. Therefore, limit as n tends to infinity of 0 is equal to 0. So what we shown? F of Z star is also equal to 0. Hence, by theorem, every 0 of analytic function is isolated. Okay. Hence, by previous result, every 0 of an analytic function is isolated. Therefore, either f of z is identically 0 in a neighborhood of z star, or f of z not equal to 0 in some punctured neighborhood delta of z star delta derived from z star, which is contained in D. So f of z star equal to 0. F of z star equal to 0. This means z star is again a 0 of f. Z star is again a 0 of f. Now if z star is 0 of f, then it should be analytic. That means f at z star equal to 0, it should be analytic, not, it should be isolated. That is f of z star equal to 0 is isolated. This implies that either this function is identically 0 in delta, having center z star and radius this small delta, or apart from this point there is at least one neighborhood of z star in which the function has no 0. So f of z not equal to 0 in some punctured neighborhood. This one, punctured neighborhood means what? You are only deleting this z star point from this disk, and at all other points this function is not 0, or f of z is identically 0 at all points. Since for sufficiently large n, Zn lies in punctured disk delta of z star delta derived from z star, and f of Zn equal to 0. As z star is a limit point of Zn, so as n tends to infinity, Zn tends to z, Zn tends to z star. That means there are number of points in the neighborhood of z star containing these points. There are number of points of this Zn in the neighborhood of z star, since z star is a limit point of Zn. Therefore, for a sufficiently large n, that is n tends to infinity, Zn lies in the punctured disk. Zn is not only one. These are some numbers. Zn at n tends to infinity lies in punctured disk, this one, and f of Zn at that point it is equal to 0. So that f of z is never 0. So these two are the cases. Either f of z identically 0 in the neighborhood of z star, or f of z not equal to 0 in the deleted neighborhood of z star. But since z star is a limit point of Zn, there are some Zn in the neighborhood of z star, right, such that f of Zn equal to 0. That means f is not identically equal to 0 in the punctured neighborhood of z star. Therefore, f of z is not equal to 0 in this punctured. This is not possible. Therefore, not equal to 0 is not possible. Therefore, Fz should be identically equal to 0 in the neighborhood of Z star. That is, in any disk delta having center Z star radius r contained in D, isn't it? This one. Fz is identically equal to 0. To complete the proof, we have to show that Fz is identically 0 in whole disk D. Here we have taken only one disk, which is contained in D. Now we have to extend this result for whole disk D. For this, we'll split D into two sets. Number one, A is the set of all those points in D such that xi is a limit point of S. And second set, it is a set of all those xi in D such that xi is not equal to A, not belongs to A, where S is the set of zeros of F in D. S is the set of zeros of F in D. Then whole disk is union of these two and intersection is empty set. These are two disjoint, but if we take union, then we get disk D. So set of all limit points of S and non-limit point of S, you will get D there. Let xi belongs to A, that means a limit point of S. Then since xi belongs to A is the limit point of S, f of z identically equal to 0 in the neighborhood of xi. Already we have seen, as it is limit. Thus each point of A is an interior point of capital A. Indeed, if z dash belongs to a disk having center at xi, radius delta, for some delta greater than 0, then mod z dash minus I is less than delta. Set epsilon equal to delta minus mod z dash minus xi. This is just substitution. And z belongs to disk having center at z dash, radius epsilon. That is mod z minus z dash less than epsilon. Okay, then z minus xi less than or equal to z minus z dash plus z dash minus xi. This is just arrangement and triangle inequality, less than epsilon plus this one, which is equal to delta. Epsilon plus this one equal to delta, that we have. It follows that delta of z dash epsilon is contained in delta of xi delta. So A is open and non-empty by hypothesis. To show that B is open, let xi dash, A is open there. So to show that B is open, let xi dash belongs to B. Since xi dash is not a limit point of S, by continuity of f at xi dash, again there exists a delta greater than 0 such that f of z not equal to 0 throughout delta of xi dash delta belongs to D or subset of D. Since D is connected and non-empty, it cannot be written as union of two non-empty disjoint open sets. Hence, we must have either A is empty set or B is empty set. One of them should be empty set. But by the hypothesis Z star is in A, therefore A should not be empty, therefore B must be empty. Thus, A is equal to D itself, and every xi in D is a limit point of the zeros of F, so that already we have in first part we have seen this should be identically 0 in D. Okay, it should be identically 0 in D. So there are some remarks. You go for these remarks. In the hypothesis of above result, D connected is necessary. D connected is necessary. The domain should be connected. Then and then only this results too. Suppose that F is analytic in the domain D. This D should be connected. Then that's why we are saying it is domain, connected domain. Okay. So this D is a domain necessary. That means connectedness of D is necessary. Okay. Connectedness of D is necessary. If this holds and S is the set of all zeros of F in D having limit point Z star in D, then Fz is identically 0 in D. Okay, that is there. So D connectedness necessary there. D connectedness necessary there. For example, if D is this one, complex plane derived from this one. So we know that this is the complex plane. Something C, I will call C as the complex plane, and derived from this annulus. What about this annulus? This is radius 1 and this is radius 3 and this is the annulus. So we are taking D, right, as this one, complex plane, set of all those points in here as well as here. So not connected, disconnected, we have taken D as the disconnected, isn't it? And if f is a mapping from D to C defined by f of z equal to 0 for mod z less than 1, the value of f is 0 inside this disk, inside this curve, and the value of f is 2 for outside the outer circle. Then f is analytic in D, isn't it? And no doubt f is analytic here. F is analytic because f of z is defined by either 0 or 2. It is analytic, isn't it? Constant, differentiable is there. F dash at z is 0 for this, f dash at z is 2, again 0 for this one. So differentiable in this set. So f is analytic and it's a 0 set. Mod z less than 1 has a limit point in D. What is the 0 of this function? Zeros are all the values of z for which mod z less than 1, means all the values inside the set, inside this set, at all these points f of z is 0. Therefore these are all zeros of the function, isn't it? This mod z less than 1 has a limit point in D, yet f is not identically 0 in D. Now see there, what about mod z less than 1? What is the limit point of this? Limit point of this is, what about limit point of this? Z0, Z1, Z2, Z3, Z4 and so on. So limit point of this is lies somewhere here and it is in D, no doubt it is in D, right? Yet f is not identically 0 in D because f of z is equal to 2 where this one is there. Mod z greater than 3 ke liye, what is it? It is equal to 2. So f is not identically 0 in D, but the limit point of zeros in D lies in D. Because what is the limit point of zeros in D? It is the point whose modulus is approaching to 1. The point whose modulus approaching to 1 is the limit point. So it will be at somewhere here. But this point is in D. This point is in D. Okay. So has the limit point in D, yet f is not identically 0. So why this obtained? Because this D is not connected here. If D was connected, then if one condition is satisfied, that is the zeros of function in D approaches to some limit point, and if that limit point is also in D, then f will be identically equal to 0. So this is the one remark from that. There are some other remarks you can see here very easily. Now suppose that f and g are analytic in a domain D, and S is the set of zeros of f minus g in D, has a limit z star in D, then fz is identically equal to gz in D. What we are given? F and g are analytic in a domain D. S is the set of zeros of f minus g in D, has a limit point z star in D again, that is zeros of f minus g in D, has a limit point z star in D, then these two are identically same. It is the just result of previous, means it is just corollary of previous. Suppose Zn are zeros of f minus g in D and Zn star approaches to z star in D. Then we have proved f minus g is identically 0 in D. F minus g is identically 0 in D. That means what? F of z equal to g of z in D. So set h is equal to f minus g, as f and g are analytic in D, so that h is also analytic in D. As the set S is the set of zeros of f minus g in D and has a limit point z star in D, so that the set S, which is the set of zeros of h, has a limit point z star in D. Therefore, by identity, previous result, h of z is identically 0 in D. That is, f of z is identically equal to g of z in D. That is the result. Again, one more result is very simple. Suppose that f and g are analytic in domain D such that fz into gz equal to 0, product of two functions equal to 0 for each z in D, then either fz is 0 for z belongs to D or gz equal to 0 for z belongs to D. So what we are saying, u into v equal to 0 implies either u0 or v0. That is like, it is like this. Suppose that f and g are analytic in a domain D such that fz into gz equal to 0 for each z in D, then either f of z equal to 0 or for z belongs to D or g of z equal to 0 for each z belongs to one of them should be 0. It's a very simple. Okay. Suppose that f at a is not equal to 0 for some a belongs to D, then by continuity of f, there exists a disk delta having center a, radius delta continued in D such that fz not equal to 0 in this one. Function is not 0 at a means what? There is one neighborhood at which function is not equal to 0. But then g of z equal to 0 for all z belongs to delta of a delta as fz gz equal to 0 for each z in D. Thus by uniqueness theorem, gz is identically 0 in D. So that is the very simple proof of this one. There one is corollary, again very simple. Suppose that f is analytic in a domain D and f dash z is 0 in some disk contained in D, then fz is constant in D. Analytic as well as first derivative 0 in some disk contained in D, then fz is constant. First derivative 0, function is constant. We already know this one. We know that if f dash z 0 in some open disk D1 contained in D, then f of z is constant in D1. This result we say C. Thus every point of D1 is a limit point of z such that f of z minus c equal to 0. And so by uniqueness theorem, f of z minus c should be 0 throughout D. That is f is constant in D. We have an example. S is the set of all those 1 by n is equal to 1 to n, then S has a limit point 0. Okay, we know that this function has a limit point 0. Let f of z is equal to e to the power I 2 pi I z by 1, z not equal to 0. Then f is analytic for all z belongs to C derived from 0 and f of zn equal to 0 for zn equal to 1 by n. See here, what type of function we are taking. F of z equal to e to the power 2 pi I by z minus 1. 2 pi I by z minus 1. F is analytic for z not equal to 0. At all other points it is analytic, no doubt. Right? For z not equal to 0. F of zn equal to 0 for zn equal to 1 by n. Why this now? Now when this will be 0, f of zn 0 means what? E to the power 2 pi I by zn minus 1 equal to 0. This means e to the power 2 pi I by zn equal to 1. Right? Equal to 1. When this will be equal to 1, if zn equal to 1 by n, this is same. Why? Because if zn equal to 1 by n, then this becomes e to the power 2 pi I n. Right? What about e to the power 2 pi I n? Cos 2 pi n plus I into sin 2 pi n. But sin 2 pi n is always equal to 0 and cos 2 pi n is always equal to 1. So it is equal to 1. Okay, that's why we are saying this function has 0 at zn for zn equal to 1 by n, where n belongs to z. Now, even though zn tends to 0 as n tends to infinity, is it tends to 0 as n tends to infinity? Yes. Fz is not identically equal to 0 since the condition that the limit point 0 must lies in c minus 0 is not satisfied. What we are saying? Now see here. What are the zeros? 1 by n are the zeros. What is the limit point of 0? 0. But 0 is not in this domain because we have taken such a domain for f which is derived from 0. So 0 is not 0 is a limit point of 1 by n but is not contained in D. Therefore, this function is not identically equal to 0. So that is also important. What is important? Your limit point of 0 should be in D again. Should be in D of domain of F again. In that case only, the result is holds. Result holds. Okay, that is the case. If f1z, f2z are analytic functions defined in a domain D and satisfy a certain algebraic condition identity on a set with a limit point in its domain of analysis, then these functions satisfy the identity through the domain of analyticity. We have uniqueness result also there. If f is analytic in a domain D, suppose that at some point a belongs to D, nth derivative of a equal to 0 for all n equal to 0, 1, 2, then fz is identically equal to 0. What we are saying? Infinite derivatives at a point, that point belongs to D is 0, then fz should be 0. So we know that first derivative 0 is fz constant. Okay. What is the second derivative of that function, constant function? It should be 0. Okay. If a polynomial is there, nth degree polynomial, n plus 1th derivative is 0 for that one. Therefore, in that case, function is not 0. But when, see here, f is analytic in a domain D and at some point a belongs to D, such condition holds. Infinite derivatives of f at a equal to 0, then that function should be 0, identically equal to 0. Let a belongs to D, there exists an r greater than 0 such that delta of AR subset of D. So by Taylor's theorem, f of z can be written as summation fn at a upon n factorial z minus a to the power n. We know that this is the coefficient, Taylor series coefficient, fn at a upon n factorial. Holds for z belongs to a disk having center at a and radius r. So by the hypothesis, now as fn at a for infinite n is 0, that means every coefficient is 0. And if every coefficient is 0, fz should be identically equal to 0. Fz should be identically equal to 0. Okay, that is the case. This is the, just again, you know that product of two power series that can be written as again a power series, right? Having such coefficients are there. So if f of z is a n z raised to n, g of z is b n z raised to n, then f plus g is a n plus b n z raised to n, and f into g is something c n into z raised to n, where c n can be written in this way, where mod z is less than minimum of r1 and r2. We know one result. If a power series has a radius of convergence r, fz is analytic in this one, then kth derivative exists for every k belongs to n, and fk at z is nothing but k factorial ak plus k plus 1 higher terms than n k are there, where ak is fk at 0 upon k factorial. F and g are analytic for mod z less than r, with an equal to fn at 0 upon n factorial, bn equal to fn at 0 upon n factorial, and f into g is analytic for mod z less than r. Therefore, this product, only just a rearrangement is there, c n z raised to n, where, and it is analytic also, and that can be written in this way, fg to the power nth derivative of fg at 0 upon n factorial. So we get this one. Very straightforward result. Okay, so this is about zeros of analytic function. This is about zeros of analytic function. So for this lecture, we'll stop here, and some next concept we'll see in the next lecture.